Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please for the Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, His Excellency Mr Wopke Hoekstra.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today is an important day in the Netherlands. Today we remember those who lost their lives in the Second World War and in wars and peace operations since then. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege and an honor to welcome an extraordinary guest today. President Zelensky, we are truly honored to have you here today. Welcome in The Hague. Mr. President, welcome in The Hague, welcome in the city of peace and justice. Ladies and gentlemen, the war in our country ended almost 8 decades ago, and yet the memories still resonate. Almost every family still tells stories of the war. Stories of loss, of fear, of hunger, but also stories of bravery and resistance. Of heroes who have fought for freedom and peace. And 78 years later, this war is still part of who we are. So every year on this day, we remember. Every year we think back of those who we lost. And tomorrow on Liberation Day, we remember that freedom must never be taken for granted. People have fought and died for it, and they fight and die for it still. And in Ukraine, as we all know, this freedom is under severe threat. Every day, Russian missiles, tanks, drones and soldiers attack it. And every day, brave Ukrainians step to protect it and protect what is theirs. And President Zelensky, every day since the illegal Russian invasion, you and your people have shown us what it means to fight for freedom. And we deeply admire you for doing that. And please know that the Netherlands will continue to stand with you. We have supported you and we will continue to support you. First of all, with weapons, because the harsh reality is that there is no substitute for success on the battlefield. But also with humanitarian aid, with harboring refugees, and with help in rebuilding your wonderful country, just as others have helped us rebuild ours. Ladies and gentlemen, illegal wars cannot go unpunished. There cannot be peace without justice. It is the only answer. It is the only answer to aggression and war crimes. It is the only answer that will ensure a lasting peace. And that is a lesson we have learned from the war all those years ago. And it is a lesson we must continue to apply today. Ukrainian prosecutors have registered 85,000 Russian war crimes since the beginning of the war. That is hundreds of crimes every single day. Men, women, children are being cowardly raped, tortured, and murdered. Schools, hospitals, and houses are being bombed. Children are being kidnapped. Every single day. Every single day. And these are ordinary, innocent people who have done nothing to deserve this terrible fate. And we can never accept this. And we will do everything in our power to ensure that Russia is being held to account. But we can only do this together. Together with the international community. Together with all those who want peace and believe in justice. And that is why we in the Netherlands strongly support accountability initiatives. It is why we send forensic teams to Ukraine, and it is why we are ready and willing to host prosecution centers, damages registers and courts here in The Hague. These are important steps, but they're only first steps. The road to accountability is long and full of setbacks. It requires perseverance and a special sense and a special kind of resoluteness. The kind I see every time I speak with you, Mr. President, and the kind I see in Ukrainians every single time I've had the opportunity to visit the country. Mr. President, we're in this together. We will continue to support you in your fight for freedom, sovereignty and a just peace, until you celebrate your own Liberation Day. Mr. President, dear Volodymyr, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for your attention and your respect for Ukraine, and I have felt today. Thank you very much. This is attention and respect from people who value freedom and do not tolerate tyranny as much as we do not in Ukraine. Thank you very much. Dear Minister Hoekstra, dear members of Parliament, dear ambassadors and journalists, dear representatives of international organizations, political and judicial communities, dear people, first of all, people of the Netherlands. And I'm glad to be in your strong country now, the land of freedom and justice, which are universal values, and it is about these things that I will speak today. Of course, we all want to see different Vladimir here in The Hague, the one who deserves to be sentenced for these criminal actions right here in the capital of the international law. And I'm sure we will see that happen when we win, and we will win. And when we win not just on the battlefield, not just against this aggression, look at how countries around the world are coming together to help Ukrainians defend themselves. What is at the heart of this desire to help? The feeling that more than the fate of one country is at stake. The feeling that more can be achieved than the defeat of one aggressor. We can now stop wars of aggression as such. We can defeat aggression as a criminal idea that originates in the mindset of someone who is used to impunity. Impunity is the key that opens the door to aggression. If you look at any war, any war of aggression in the history, they all have one thing in common. The perpetrators of the war didn't believe they would have to stand to answer for what they did. They must stand to answer for war. However brings war must receive judgment. Ladies and gentlemen, defeating impunity of aggressors means destroying the origins of aggression. Victory in the war is won by force of arms. That's how that job gets done. And I'm grateful to you and the Netherlands for every piece of weapon supplied to Ukraine, for everything that helps us to maintain our defense and gradually prepare our active actions. But we know that the lasting peace after victory is achieved by nothing else but the strength of values. First of all, it's the strength of freedom and of law, which must work to the full of ensure justice, not hybrid promises instead of human rights, real freedom, not hybrid impunity and symbolic formalities, but full-scale justice, not hybrid peace and constant flashes of violence on the front line, but reliable peace when one respects values. True freedom, true justice, true peace is respected instead of hybrid forms. But it's exactly what we need now. Please think about one number. Now, this number is 6,139. This is the number, contradict number of war crimes committed by the Russian occupiers this April alone. These Russian crimes led to the deaths of 207 Ukrainian civilians. Among them are 11 children. Another 17 children are 400 adults were injured in a month alone. And the full-scale Russian invasion has been going on for the 15th month. Just yesterday, it was yesterday, in our Kherson region alone, Russia killed 23 people. 49 were wounded. I'm speaking about civilians. And it all started more than 9 years ago with the occupation of our land, with the occupation of Crimea and Russia's bloody hybrid war in the Donbass. Thousands and thousands of war crimes, thousands and thousands of victims. The Russian rocket that killed 23 people in the city of Uman, and each of the millions of strikes fired by Russian artillery in the Donbass. Every person killed by the occupiers in Bucha, and every filtration camp that Russia set up on our independent land, every prisoner who was tortured in the Russian captivity, and every city deliberately burned by Russia, and all the pain suffered by the Dutch people after the downing of MH17 flight with the use of the Russian weapons by the Russian hands, exactly by the Russian hands. And please observe a minute of silence in memory of all those whose lives were taken by Russia, by its terror. Please. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, only one Russian crime led to all of these crimes. This is a crime of aggression, the start of evil, the primary crime. There should be responsibility for this crime, and it can only be enforced by the tribunal. Europe and the world have already had to to deal with something like this. As a result, we can see the following words in the text of the judgment of the International Tribunal in Nuremberg. To initiate a war of aggression, is not only an international crime, it is the supreme international crime, differing only from other war crimes in that it contains within itself the accumulated evil of the whole. That's absolutely true. We must transform the experience of the Nuremberg process into an operating rule. That's why we insist on the tribunal creation. When there is a tradition of inevitable punishment of aggression, then there will be a tradition of guaranteed non-repetition of aggression. If we want true justice, we should not look for excuses and should not refer to the shortcomings of the current international law, but make bold decisions that will correct the shortcomings of those norms that unfortunately exist in international law. This is exactly what the creators of Nuremberg did. We should do the same now. It would be a weakness for you and for us and for all of the nations to leave full justice only to history. It would be unfair to our children and our grandchildren to hand them problems that we can solve. That's what the tribunal is for. The sustainability of peace arises from the complete justice towards the aggressor. Ladies and gentlemen, it is wrong that someone in the world is still afraid to give full force to justice. You and I are not afraid, and I'm sure most of the world is not afraid. The aggressor must fear the full power of justice, only him. Yet, this is our historical responsibility of the modern generation to make the total punishment for aggression inevitable, to prevent the aggression against our country and also new wars. There are potential aggressors in the world, and the world must see justice to see peace fully secured. Ukrainian courts will ensure responsibility for most of the crimes of the Russian occupiers, and I'm very thankful to the International Criminal Court and to the entire team working with the ICC for the sake of justice. But only one institution is capable of responding to the original crime, the crime of aggression: a tribunal. Tribunal, not something hybrid that can formally close the topic, not some compromise that will allow politicians to say that the case is allegedly done, but a true, we need true, full-fledged tribunal, true and full justice. And I'm thankful to you, the people, leaders of the Netherlands, Prime Minister, the government, the Parliament, for being with us on this path. It's so important for us, and I thank you for supporting the establishment of the special tribunal, and I'm grateful that the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression will work right here in The Hague. And same here in The Hague, the register of damages from aggression will be established. And this is a step forward to creating a compensation mechanism. Damages from aggression must be compensated at the expense of the assets of the aggressor himself. And this is also a punishment for war as well as justice. I thank you for the fact that for you and us, justice really matters. Thank you, the Netherlands. Let justice really work. And when today, as always, on the 4th of May, at 8 o'clock in the evening, you will honor the memory of all those whose lives were taken away by the wars, by the Second World War and other wars. Please also remember Ukrainians, men and women, adults and children who would have been alive now, but for this aggression, the war we didn't want, the one we have to make the last, and we'll do it. Slava Ukraine! Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you. Thank you very much.
precies de bedoeling is, dat hebben jullie in de mail al een beetje voorbij zien komen. En als er nog vragen zijn, dan horen we die graag.
Ja, MP komt zo aan en dan ontvangt hij Volodymyr Zelensky hier aan de boot lopen. Dan neem ik degene met een rood polsbandje neem ik mee naar binnen voor een fotomoment. Dan gaan we hier...
Hey joh!
Dat helpt ook. Dan gaan we weer allemaal met z'n allen naar de chauffeursruimte als zij binnen zitten. Dan om 10 over half 1 komt de plan. Daarvoor zetten jullie al neer. En dat is weer hetzelfde principe. Degene met het rode bandje nemen naar binnen. Op het moment dat jullie kunnen dan nog even blijven staan, want de camera's en degene die voor foto's moeten opstellen bij de persconferentie, die neem ik dan alvast mee naar binnen. Want dan hebben jullie heel even tijd om op te stellen. De schrijvende pers gaat dan weer die kant op. En daar halen jullie er op, zo'n 10 minuten voordat de persco komt. Na de persco heb je ongeveer... We willen eigenlijk zo snel mogelijk iedereen het terrein af. Dus ik help even mee.
Niet persoonlijk, maar...
Nou, ja,
Trek maken?
Wat zei je?
Trek, kunnen we dat nog gaan doen?
Nee, dat is geen moment. Nee. Nee, want het duurt hier ook nog wat langer. Dus nee, dat kan helaas niet. Nee. Even persconferentie live. Dus persconferentie. Ja, dat kan zeker. Wil je dat doen? Dat is kwart voor 1.
Het will be too simple.
Hoe
wordt dat dan uit?
Die komt al volgens de planning.
Dat huisje daar, dat wit.
Ja.
Maar nu niet. Dat is te belangrijk.
Ja?
When did she say the crow will arrive?
Ja, we zijn nog één iets vergeten, nog even plenair handig om te doen voor alle verslaggevers. We hebben straks bij de persconferentie ruimte voor 5 vragen in totaal. Dat is zeg maar de normale verdeling die we hebben. Normaal natuurlijk 2 keer 2 vragen. We zitten nu met 3 landen. Dus de media van de president zal 1 vraag stellen. Dat betekent dat we in principe voor de Nederlandse en voor de Belgische media aan beide kanten 2 vragen hebben en aan jullie om even te verdelen wie dat gaat doen.
2 vragen per persoon.
Dus 1 vraag.
Ja. Per persoon of is het per... 2 vragen?
Jij bent zo ready to go als ik zeg we gaan, hè?
Ja,
Oké.
meteen, hè? Dus,
Ja?
Waarom is dit aansluiting? Dat is de eerste vraag. Maar dit is goed te weten. Dat kan je sowieso niet, hè?
Ja, ja.
Dat is goed, je mag naar binnen. Ja, hier in het huis. Is hij ook buiten, toch? Waar schrijf je voor?
jij wil mij er gewoon niet bij, hè?
Jawel, ik mag niet naar binnen, dat is het.
NC.
Oh, en
Het is maar heel kort persconferentie.
geen kritische vragen. Deze 2 vragen zijn klaar. Hij was surprised. Hij was surprised.
Ik had een hele lange vraag stellen.
Hoor, er zijn nog heel veel vragen. cheffoto's? Heb je er nog? Weet je ook weer? Oh ja, Philippe. Ik ben heel positief. Ik ken hem niet goed hoor. Heel takvol. Ja, maar dat is niks, dat weet ik. Nee, die heb ik ook. Ik had zelfs een tweede versie. Versie 2 toen. Maar die vond ik echt niet goed. Als je wil kloppen of zo, kon je heel mooi. Ja, dat is echt gewoon s'avonds zelfs. Nou ja, dat is het ook. Dit is wel heel handig. Als er genoeg licht is.
Ja, dat is nog een motto.
Ja, dat ook. Dat ook, maar zelfs s'avonds. Maar 400 is niet mooi. Maar praktisch is dit
hier
super. Ja, it's a Belgian special.
And we will bring it back with you.
Yeah. Anytime. We always come for the king. National Day.
No, but our thing is we can
Sorry?
the Dutch thing is
Ah, okay, indeed. Yeah, that can make sense. Bedenk het. Ja. Ik zou met rennen en dat is wel even voor.
Je hebt het zo veel gezien. Ja, ik probeer het bij als. Ja. Geen bal, hè? Can you move the car? Wat doe met die auto daarvoor? Huh? De auto is kut. Ja.
Bij een operatie. Die zag je deze logo. Hier, wat dacht je om naast de open cv?
Yves, tu prends avec, hein? Tu prends avec, si tu dois bouger, je prends. Ja, plek voor uit te rusten. Wanneer was het? Een paar jaar geleden. 2020. 2019. Helft naar de parkeerplaats. Ja, vanaf de parkeerplaats in een busje. Fantastisch verhaal is dat. Ja, fantastisch persconferentie. Kom maar aan.
Een bandje, met mij mee.
Sorry. Ik ben eigenlijk straks met een... ik hoop dat jij niet te.
Ze waren ermee bezig.
Sorry.
Iemand doet die deur ook, hè?
I don't know idea.
Oké. Nee. Yes?
Many handshakes before today. Great.
Yes?
Meneer Rutte mag nog een keer?
Nog een keer.
Okay, this so long.
Great.
Ja, dankjewel. Thank you. Kom hier.
See you later.
Zeker.
partij is toevallig? Amsterdam?
Meestal moet de kleinste partij zijn.
Hi, Alex is calling from the Netherlands. I'm live on Line 7, expecting Belgian Prime Minister De Croo to arrive and meet. Okay, that's all fine, because we get some new guidelines how to do live again. So I'm supposed to call you first before I do anything. And, I will just, yeah, that's the, I follow the book, okay? And now I will talk to them. Okay. You don't have to, I will send them Slack message. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye bye.
Alleen de term. Ja? Ah, dit was een
Ja, dat is niet. Dat was een
Het waren meisjes.
ja, kijk, het werkt hoor.
Het waren kleine meisjes.
Het werkt. Nou, dat zijn gewoon.
Ja, het is wel blijven plakken niet. Maar in België is dat iemand.
We hebben de foto's nog.
We zijn wel erger gewend.
Die zijn nog gewend aan.
Jullie kan ook alles. Ja, dat is van alles.
Dat komt toch? Nou wel. Ja, dat bedoel ik. Maar die vrouw is toch vrij?
Ja, ja.
Kleine man. Zelf misbruikt worden. Ga vooruit blijven. Ja, rechter. Zij wordt een rechter. Ja, dat is lekker vrij. Ook alleen maar beeld. Ik heb het niet ontdekt. De dames?
Maar die zijn hier met die matchcultuur bij de NOS en de Voice en zo. Denk ik, hè? Wij zijn gewoon heel, wij zitten graag aan mensen. Ja, niet bij jullie dan.
Maar kaal zijn we.
Maar conversator, ja, dat rijdt op de radio. Als een Italiaan of Marokkaan.
Ja, maar die bakker, die Bostato is niet aangeklaagd. Maar die Ali B nu wel.
Maar Bostato deed bij 18,5 jaar. Is dat Ali B?
Ja,
laten we staan maar niet. Dat is een
zo'n zanger, rapper.
Iemand die nooit in de publiciteit op mag komen.
Dan liever today, hè?
Ja.
Dat is een beetje
Wel van helemaal zot van de hand en merk. Maar van jullie kant niet. Allemaal half Nederlands en Marokkaans.
Staan ze nog wel elkaar?
De grote altijd de Hollandse die worden door iedereen best Jos
Ik ben die lichtjes.
Nou, kijk je niet hoor. Is dat dan de AC, hoor? Dat is altijd de Holland die voor Kijk je ook
open in the slab.
Yeah.
But if you cannot go in, what's the
Hij is wel onderdeel van de selectie.
I'm sorry, what's the, you know... They said
Vaccineren toch?
no, I don't think in this...
There's nothing in there. Niels is toch bij zo'n villa gelijk door die vet.
I don't know why they're so secret.
Echt ver in beeld. Van huis heeft hij ja?
Kaart op en zo. Maar toen was het ja, hij komt het
Ja.
Maar dat was een selectieprocedure.
Toen wel.
No, it's open. No, are you guys covering this opportunity? No, it's not really, we fully played this movie. The story will be how much is the money. Ik weet dat we toen nog in de story.
Toen keek jij natuurlijk zelf ook nog Katerin. Je luistert jezelf.
Iedereen in die leeftijd, maar wel nooit iets aan die van.
Nou, ik heb het twee boeken gehad.
Derde probeer ik altijd even die wolf.
That's exactly what it is.
Funny how this very good military good.
You were in Sarajevo doing sick of nature in the toilet like that. Ze zijn de arm amputeren, dat je zo goed
Goes straight from his balls.
Yeah.
It's a bio. It's a bio.
As long as it's in the sun, it's a solar power.
Yeah, it comes from there. Sorry. It comes from there, not sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Or maybe they're diplomats, I don't know.
I think we come from right.
Yeah. But you know, Belgium always have different.
All of them come from that.
Yeah.
One of them comes from that way.
I think it will be from there.
From that side?
Yeah.
Ja. Dat is nog wel.
Van die kant, sorry. Ja, best van de voeten.
Zo'n douche? Van mijn handdoeken voelen. Ja, dat kan eigenlijk niet.
Thanks.
Ja? Ja, dat zijn ze. Dat hebben ze niet vertoond. Ja, echt heel veel. Nog wat mooi.
Als die auto blijft staan, dan willen wij in zo'n gat staan. Kun je dan
Ja, het is hier op het gat.
Ja, als die auto blijft staan. Oké, daar bij hier.
gewoon Alex?
Ja? Oké, ja, ja, ik heb. Ja, ja.
Sophie,
Ja?
mag ik achter jou staan?
Ja, en dan kom achter. Wie is deze meneer? Sorry.
Sophie, hou hem maar, Ik kom eraan.
I will not be coming outside, don't worry.
How are you? We met in Brussels.
Yeah,
Doing well? Not as well.
not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Staying strong.
Yeah. Thanks.
Не знаю, синдром актера.
Sorry, pardon.
Okay. Yes. Sit down now, but I think it's better.
Ja, dankjewel.
See you later.
Naar buiten.
You have enough for a movie?
Yeah, it's 2 shots. 2 shots.
Hallo?
Second chance, yeah, first chance.
Ik heb ze allemaal in beeld.
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Last check. Everything good? 1 is the floor. 0 is the floor. 1 is English. And 2 is Ukraine. Yeah. Yes. Sounds okay? Yes? Thank you.
Oh, ik dacht dat je vroeg, gaat zij ook stemmen?
Nee,
wat
ik
raar.
voel gewoon echt, ik kom hier nooit.
Een paar vragen
Welcome at the Katshuis. We first have 3 statements, and after that there's room for a few questions. Prime Minister Rutte.
Mr. President, dear Volodymyr, a warm welcome to you and your delegation. Welcome to the Netherlands, welcome to my hometown, The Hague. And let me say, it is a truly special moment for us all to have you in our midst. Prime Minister, dear Alexander, welcome to you as well. Your presence here today is proof that Belgium and the Netherlands stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, as friends, but also as allies. Volodymyr, it has been now 434 days since you spoke a few simple words that resonated all over the world. And I say what you are saying then. We are all here defending our independence, our country, and it will stay this way. That's what you said. And it would be an understatement to say that you've kept your word. The resolve and courage of the brave soldiers and citizens of Ukraine is without precedent in our lifetime. And you yourself have become a symbol of what a country and its people can do when they are fighting for their existence, their freedom and their future. And we all admire you for that. When I had the privilege to address the members of the Rada almost a year ago, I said, we will stay with you every inch of the way. And let me assure you, Volodymyr, that we too are determined to keep our word. Because this is an unjust war against everything we stand for. This is a war against freedom, democracy, and the rule of law in our part of the world. That's why we stand with the Ukrainian people and why you can count on our unwavering support. Russia cannot win this war, and it must be held accountable for all the crimes of aggression and the injustice it is inflicting on the people of Ukraine day after day in this horrific war. So what better place to meet than here in The Hague, the legal capital of the world. Ever since the downing of flight MH17, we in the Netherlands have known that justice doesn't come automatically. You have to have staying power. The Netherlands will do everything it can to ensure that justice is done for Ukraine, however long it takes, and however difficult it may be. Volodymyr, as you know, your visit to the Netherlands couldn't have come at a more symbolic moment. Every year, on the 4th of May, we remember the Dutch victims of the Second World War and all the soldiers who have given their lives since then for peace and freedom worldwide. Tomorrow, on the 5th of May, Liberation Day, we are fortunate that we can celebrate that we have been a free country since 1945. And so, after so many years, it's easy to take peace and freedom for granted. But every day, the brutal Russian aggression against Ukraine reminds us that the rule of law is not a given. It needs protecting when threatened and defending when attacked. So believe me when I say that Ukraine will remain in our hearts and our minds, not only today and tomorrow, but every day until peace and freedom are restored in your country. This morning you visited the International Criminal Court here in The Hague. Later this afternoon we will visit a location where Dutch military equipment is dispatched to the battlefield in Ukraine. Your visit to the Netherlands sends yet another strong signal that the people of Ukraine and its president will not give in to Russian aggression, and that the Netherlands and its allies will continue to support you every inch of the way. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, dear Prime Minister Mark, dear Prime Minister Alexander, dear journalists, dear guests. First of all, I want to thank you for invitation, Mark, to visit the Netherlands on this very special day, when the memory of all those whose lives were claimed by wars is commemorated. And my appreciation, big honor for me to be here. This is a special invitation and a special honor. We share the pain of these losses and must put an end to any aggression. And we're meeting here in the Hague to bring peace closer and to restore justice. What we need justice. And I'm grateful to you, Mark, again, and to the Kingdom of the Netherlands for your powerful and timely support of our defense. The Patriot and other weapons that the Netherlands provided us have already saved thousands of Ukrainian lives. Thank you. I'm grateful to you, Alexander, and to the Kingdom of Belgium for the solidarity in defense of our common values, which makes Europe a Europe. And thank you for your support of sanctions against Russia and aid packages for our country and people. Today we focused mainly on security issues. The most important thing now is to deliver what was promised to our soldiers as quickly as possible. And I have called on our partners, both the Netherlands and Belgium, to help us implement the agreements on military assistance as quickly as possible. Very important is that we are working to create a coalition of armed vehicles to complement the existing coalition of tanks. And we hope that the Netherlands and Belgium, together with the Nordic countries and all our other partners, will effectively support our initiative to create this coalition of armed vehicles. Besides, it's a time to make positive decisions for Ukraine on modern aircrafts, and there is no rational reason to postpone such decisions to train our pilots and to strengthen the wings for Ukraine, a means to speed up the peace we all wanted. Of course, we discussed today a strengthening of our common Euro. We will discuss today very important issue, our common Euro Atlantic security, and it's very important. De facto, Ukraine has already become a part of NATO. We cooperate, we trust each other, and together we truly make Europe stronger. And so it stands to reason that Ukraine should become part of alliance de jure, the sod NATO country. The algorithm of actions in this regard can and should be approved by political decisions at the Vilnius summit of the alliance this summer, and we count on the support of our partners. Later, we will discuss Ukraine-EU relations, and we are waiting for a positive assessment of progress in implementing recommendations of the European Commission, and we do all our best during the war. We do all reforms, what we have to do, and this will be the time when political positive momentum will open the way to a new and long-lasting positive history, both for Ukraine and for the whole Europe. And one more point, I would like to thank you for your support. Our peace formula is 10 very points that can restore not only our territorial integrity and security, but also can reliably guarantee the long-term security of Europe and the world. This is our joint task, to restore the full force of the UN Charter and international law in general. Everything that was violated by Putin and Russia. A peace calls for sanctions to be stronger, for the isolation of Russia to be more complete. Peace calls for assets of terrorist state to be confiscated, and peace calls damages to be repaired and ruins to be rebuilt. And I'm sure we will do it together. Thanks again to you, Mark, and thank you, Alexander. Thank you. So much.
Dear Vladimir, dear Mark, thank you for an invitation that is symbolic on many levels. First of all, on the ties that we have as countries, ties which in essence are about values, the values of democracy, of respect, of sovereignty, but also symbolic on the timing, Mark. You invite us here on the eve of the Dutch Liberation Day, where we commemorate how our British friends, our American friends, Canadians, and so many others came here to liberate us and to bring peace, as you stated it very well. And I think as a moment of this, it is important to continue to show our solidarity with Ukraine, as we have done, both countries and so many others from day one, even before the invasion. And let me be clear on that, we will continue with the same motivation and the same engagement to continue to show our solidarity with Ukraine. It is now our turn to help Ukraine to get rid, once again, of a cruel and an illegal occupation, kind of occupation that our countries have endured during the Second World War as well. This is why Belgium is in the process of preparing a new package of military aid for Ukraine. And as we know, in these military aid packages, there are often practical obstacles, but I can tell you that there is not a single doubt in any of the Belgian hearts and minds that we need to continue to support Ukraine. That is why last March, Belgium seized approximately 200 million euros of the proceeds from Russian assets that were frozen in Belgium. And we are using those funds exclusively to help the Ukrainian war effort and to support Ukrainian refugees in Belgium. And I'm convinced that we can go further in that domain, not only by seizing the interests, but also looking at the full proceeds of the Russian assets themselves. Since the beginning of the war, Belgian services have seized more than 180 billion of Russian assets of the Russian central bank. We are now examining how we can fully use the proceeds of those Russian assets to support the Ukrainian war effort and to support the reconstruction of Ukraine as well. And Belgium is ready to play a leading role in that, and we will do that together with the European Commission. I've always said, since the beginning of this war, we need to hit Russia in a smart way and in an effective way. Using Russian money to rebuild a country that they are destroying makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense from an economic perspective, but even more so, it makes perfect sense from a moral perspective as well. So, dear Mark, thank you for extending this invitation here today in The Hague. And dear Vladimir, we cannot repeat it often enough how much we admire your courage, how we admire the courage of your population. And let it be clear again, we will continue to support you with everything we can support. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава. Thank you, Alexander.
First question is for 1+1 TV channel.
Пане президент, вітаємо вас у Газі. І, мабуть, найголовніше питання, яке
Just a second.
Please repeat the question.
Sorry for asking it in Ukrainian.
We have to be quick in Ukraine, yes. Please.
Пане президент, мабуть, найважливіше питання, яке можна поставити у столиці справедливості, це, власне, трибунал щодо російської агресії. Зараз ми бачимо тиск від країн-партнерів України щодо створення гібридного трибуналу, так званого. При цьому Україна продовжує наголошувати, що потрібен міжнародний процес. Яким ви бачите трибунал щодо російської агресії нині і що, власне, потрібно для його створення? Дякую.
Дуже дякую. По-перше, у мене сьогодні була дійсно дуже гарна зустріч в ICC, і я дякую президентові, що у мене була така можливість. Ми працюємо на високому рівні, дякуємо не тільки президенту ICC, дякуємо команді прокурора Хана. Дійсно, ми бачили результат щодо військово-політичного керівництва Російської Федерації за їх злочини. Ми всі розуміємо, що незважаючи на ту чи іншу роботу, ми будемо працювати над створенням окремого трибуналу, тому що ми повинні засуджувати злочин агресії як такий, як найголовніший, як первісний злочин. І тут у нас є велика група, кор-груп, ви знаєте, вже вона складається вже з 35 мені здається, на сьогодні з 35 країн, але тим не менш так, є якісь ті чи інші думки щодо в якому виді повинен бути цей побудований трибунал. Наша позиція чітка. Вчора у нас була зустріч з нашими партнерами Nordic Countries. Ми показали їм чітку свою позицію. До цього у нас є зустрічі і домовилися з нашими Baltic Countries, Baltic Friends. Сьогодні я таку саму думку сказав і Марку, і Олександру. Ми будемо працювати без будь-яких гібридних форматів. Будемо працювати над конкретним трибуналом, щоб від відповідальності за свої злочини, вбивства, катування, як ми розуміємо, хто віддавав накази, щоб ці люди не були недоторканими. Для нас це дуже важливо, це одне з принципових питань. Сьогодні у мене була ще промова, дякую за те, що така велика можливість сьогодні є у мене звернутися до наших друзів. І там вже ж я багато про що говорив, ми знаємо звідки пішов гібридний мир. Ми з вами точно пам'ятаємо, з початку 2014 року Мінські угоди, це і був такий собі гібридний мир. Ми знаємо, до чого це призвело, тому на будь-який гібридний мир і гібридний трибунал, як розвиток цього, Україна погоджуватись не хоче.
Next question, NOS.
Добрий день в Нідерландах. Mr. President, you can count on the unwavering support of the Netherlands, our Prime Minister repeated, and you need a support. You ask for support on many different fields. For instance, fighter jets, EU accession, quick NATO accession, a special tribunal. I was wondering in which of these 4 points did you get specific commitments from our Prime Minister today, or are you hoping to get them later today? And it's also a question to our Prime Minister, on which of these 4 points can you assure Mr. Zelensky that, yes, indeed, Ukraine can count on this unwavering support? Because it's not a secret that, for instance, Netherlands is very hesitant, very reluctant if it comes to giving the accession to your country of NATO. And that's why I was wondering if, at some point, if Netherlands keeps on being hesitant or reluctant even, will you stop calling our Prime Minister your dear friend? Thank you.
Dear friend, I have to begin from this verse. So, a lot of different challenges and a lot of difficulties, you know, on the battlefield. I'm like the president of the country which is in war. Of course, we need a lot of different issues to have a victory. And it not depends only on us. And of course, we need justice. And it's not depends only on our possibilities and our wishes. That's why we need dear friends. And really, but first of all, we need because we fight for common values. And I feel support of our support of Parliament, support of Marx, support of government since first days of full-scale war. It's really true, and I'm thankful for it. And like I said, patriots, etc. But can I now focus on that things what we discussed? We are speaking now about what's going on the battlefield and what we are preparing for. We are preparing for real justice, but there are two directions of justice. Justice on the battlefield. We have to deoccupy our territory. We have all these rights. We're not fighting with Russia on Russian territory. We are fighting against, not with, against their aggression. And that's why we have to do it, and I'm focusing now on this. And we spoke about it, how to help, how to strengthen Ukraine and our army, and to be strong. We are not weak. We want just to be stronger. And that's why we need this support. And I think we will get it. We speak about very contradictory things, about very contradictory number of things. I can't share, this with you, all these contradictory issues. Maybe somebody I mean, there's no, because when you are preparing such details, you know, such things, such steps forward, counteroffensive steps, which are very important. I don't want to speak a lot of, you know, with details. Yeah, so, but I think that we will get this support, and it's about weapon. And if we are speaking about NATO, well, we need, and I think we last some months we have got positive messages from some countries who are ready to support Ukraine, really support and to do something more than open door on Vilnius summit. We need something more, yes? And I think that also our friends will support us and will see us in NATO. But anyway, we're realistic. We know that we will not be in NATO during the war. But during the war, we want to get very clear message that we will be in NATO after the war.
And you get this positive result also from our country. The NATO accession is support.
Let's listen, Mark.
Yeah.
Dziękuję.
So on the three issues, F-16s, NATO and EU, what was the fourth one? Of course, as you know, line item 7 out of the Zelensky 10-point peace plan is the line item we are very much focusing on. Of course, on all the line items, but particularly point 7, which is about accountability. The Hague being the international capital of justice, it's clear that we want to work on this, on the tribunal. We're also working on this horrible issue of the abduction of children, together with Germany and other countries, in Belgium. We are working on collecting all the evidence of what is happening currently in Ukraine, including with fact-finding missions to make sure that all the evidence is captured, working closely with the ICC. So on that issue, we are in a complete agreement. On the F-16s, no taboos. We are working intensely with our partners, Belgium, others, the UK, Denmark, on getting that debate somehow to a conclusion. We are not there yet, that's always very sensitive. I've seen this before with the Leopards 2, I've seen it before with the Panzer Howitzers. It takes time to bring that to a conclusion. But at this moment, the Panzer Howitzers are in Ukraine. The Leo 2s are being delivered to Ukraine. So we will work on this diligently on the F-16s, and clearly there is support in Parliament for this government to work on that. On NATO, very sensitive, exactly for the reason the President was mentioning, which is that at this moment there is a war going on in Ukraine, this terrible Russian aggression war. And here I think that Jens Stoltenberg, the NATO Secretary General, found some very practical wording saying that Ukraine belongs to the Euro-Atlantic family, but he also said that Ukraine will eventually become a member of NATO and that we must continue to support Ukraine to make this possible. And also for the Netherlands, it's clear that we support Ukraine's NATO ambitions. What we are working on now in a run-up to the Vilnius summit is to make sure that we take a step, that we do not just go back to the wording from Bucharest and whatever, but that we take a clear step, and what it exactly will be negotiated over the next 4 to 6 weeks. We have to do that with all the 30 NATO countries to make sure that everybody is on one line. And on EU accession, as you know, thanks to the statesmanship of Ursula von der Leyen, we were able last May to come to conclusions, which is that EU membership and the future EU membership for Ukraine is now clearly on the table, and that the negotiations are going on. I think we can still thank her for that, because it was a difficult issue, not just with the Netherlands, but also with many other countries in this part of the world, because we had our doubts at that moment. But I am absolutely impressed by what the President's team is doing, fighting a war against Russia, and at the same time making concrete steps in terms of clearing the way in terms of this whole process towards EU accession. It is up to the Commission later this year to assess the progress. There is a clear process within the EU. That's different from NATO. There is not a clear process in NATO that step by step this is what you need to do to get to accession. But in the EU, we have that process. The next step is for the EU Commission to come up with a report in October, but I'm really impressed. In my last visit in February to Kyiv, but also last July before, to see what they are doing in the middle of this war to clear that path to this ambition. And that gives me every confidence that we can get there. But again, it's up now to the Commission to assess in October the progress on Ukraine, also Moldova, and of course the Western Balkan countries.
Next question, VTM.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's wonderful to see you in good health here in the Netherlands. But our question is, how seriously do you take the Russian outspoken threat now that they think is justified to eliminate you, whether in Ukraine or right here in The Hague?
Any decisions of Russia are not interesting for us for today. Any decisions of their leader still from 24th of February, he's not leader of for us. He's not the real leader of the country in which words or steps you can trust. Yes. So for me, it doesn't matter what they think. We know what they do. We see their demotivated country on the battlefield, what is very important. We don't see ever the strong army on the battlefield and a really strong society which support their steps forward. We see different radical groups which are supporting, which want to use some nuclear, which are called to burn all our country. That's it. For us, it's not more any country on, and so I mean it's not interesting topic. We will not negotiate with these kind of persons anything. I think that they have to think to how to change the climate in their country, to change their regime, and after that they can bring their society to any diplomatic possibility, yes, to finish this war. But first, what we see, we have to deoccupy our country, be just on our borders.
Next question, Ukreform News.
I will switch to Ukrainian. Пане президент, що нам потрібно наразі зараз на фронті і що кажуть, власне, партнери, як пояснюють, чому зволікають з F-16, а також з далекобійними ракетами?
А також чим?
А також з далекобійними ракетами.
Наша задача сьогодні наповнити наше угруповання дефіцитом зброї, про яку я вам сказав. Моя така місія була вчора, а моя місія така сьогодні. І ми планували ці візити щодо посилення нашої армії як один із аспектів. Безпека – це другий аспект, це НАТО і євроінтеграція. Тому важливі речі, всі передані нашими партнерами, багато з чим, я вважаю, ми повертаємось. Серйозні є пакети від наших партнерів, і це найголовніше. Щодо F-16, ми всі можемо довго про це говорити. Але ми з вами розуміємо, що F-16 в будь-якому випадку починається з навчання, і це training missions, які можуть надати нам тільки ті країни, які мають відповідні майданчики, ті, які мають на своєму озброєнні F-16. Але це таке складне питання, таке саме, як і питання консолідації країн щодо нашого майбутнього в Євросоюзі, консолідації країн щодо нашого майбутнього в НАТО. Ми працюємо над цим. Я впевнений, що у нас буде позитивний результат, тому що у нас іншого немає виходу.
Next question, RTL.
Mr. President Zelensky, and thank you for answering our questions. Your country is getting ready for a spring offensive. And I was wondering, what do you think might happen if that fails? What will you do? Does this feel like a last chance effort for you? Will it force you to negotiate if the spring effort fails? And are you worried the support with weapons might dry up in the future?
Thank you very much for the question. We believe in success in our counteroffensive mission. It's very important. We do what we can. We do our best. Our society, not only soldiers, our society which work on our army. It's really all our factories, business, just ordinary Ukrainians, what we can do to strengthen our army each day. And we do it and we prepare counteroffensive. And I really, we don't think that we don't have success. It's not our way. And that is why I can't answer to your question. I have only one target, and we understand it. And so I think we will have results. I can't say that that is totally success, because, never knows. And when you lose people, it's not the right word, success. When you lose people, even if you win, you lose. Even you win in some sector, in some territory, even when you deoccupied and everybody needed in Ukraine, it's really, but you lose also because you lose people, and these losses are very painful for country. And yes, it's a big tragedy. But anyway, we will go. We are waiting something from our partners, because of different reasons, absolutely different reasons. And during this war, it's not very simple for me to come to other countries, to our partners. Yes, because I don't want to demotivate our people, our society, and our soldiers. And I can't go, everywhere when I should go or want. Yes, I mean that. So you have to understand why I'm sometimes somewhere. And because of preparation, really, because of strengthening, to be more strong on the battlefield, and to bring some not good news for Russian also. I'm in Hague. Yesterday I was in Finland, not far from justice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Last question is for VTM.
VRT.
Oh, I'm sorry, VRT.
Mr. President, the Belgian Prime Minister talked about the huge amount of Russian money seized in Belgium, 200 billion euros. He proposed to use the proceeds of this money for Ukraine. Is that enough for you, or do you want to use the money itself for the reconstruction of Ukraine? And Prime Minister, are you willing to look into this possibility to use the money itself for reconstruction of Ukraine?
Thank you very much. Very important question. Of course, we want to use all the money to renovate our country, because they destroyed, they destroyed our energy network, our schools, educational network. I mean, these schools, universities, cultural centers, museums, churches, and the infrastructure, just infrastructure for people. And of course, for all of these issues, we need money, and we spoke about it today. And Alexander told me that they are finding some mechanism to help us in this, in renovation. I think that is the problem and the question not only of Belgium. I think that the problem with the law in the countries who really have this, this money, who frozen some money, and etc. But it's not enough. If you're asking, is it enough? It's not enough, because even World Bank, I think that the last analytics shows us that now we need more than 400 billions It's real statistics, but we don't know. We don't know what's going on temporary occupied territories. I mean, that what is the level of destroying there. So we are finding the mechanism. We are asking our friends to help us and to find this mechanism in countries, and of course on the level of EU, on the level of EU Commission.
Yeah, thank you for the question. As I said, I think first of all, from a moral perspective, it's totally defendable that the financial means of the persons who are creating such a dramatic situation in Ukraine would be used. From an economic perspective, as I said, we are looking into a mechanism to seize the proceeds of the almost 200 billion which are frozen in Belgium. Of course, that can only happen when there is a legal basis. Respect for the rule of law is an essential value of what we share, and Belgium will be taking the lead together with the European Commission to create a legal framework to make that seizure of the proceeds possible. On top of that, the question is there other ways you could use the capital to make sure that the financing is available for the reconstruction of Ukraine and to finance the war efforts, and that as well we are exploring of what possibilities would be, but of course it needs to be on a legal framework. But this is something that we are working on with our specialists.
Thank you so much. One short question. It's the final one.
What do you say to members of Dutch Parliament who think that Dutch Remembrance Day should only be about Dutch victims?
Today I was in Parliament, and in Dutch Parliament, and it was my second invitation. The first one was online, and today I came just with great honor. And I'm honored to be invited by Mark and by them. And well, I said a lot of warm things which are going from heart of all our Ukrainians. We are thankful for strengthening on the battlefield, for refugees just for people. And I know that the President of Parliament, he said to me that blood and victims, and so I mean that. But it's a big tragedy that today we again fighting with the regime, and of course we are calling and we give messages to different parliaments and leaders not to repeat, not to give possibility of regime of Russia to bring and to involve all us to the sword World War, not to give him possibility. Now we are staying, and we are fighting against it, and against possibility to involve all the world to a new tragedy, big tragedy, and that's why we need help. And I've got this support from Parliament.
Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you.